We got some new rumblings and some new moves around the NBA as we all wait for this Kuminga decision with the Warriors. Let's start with the Brad Beal buyout in Phoenix that we all knew was eventually coming. I guess it got ugly. It got nasty. I've been to a couple Suns games out here and sat in the friends and family section. You know, they sell their tickets on the secondhand market, and we ended up with those seats. And you should hear the local Suns fans about Brad Beal during games. And yeah, it was fun. It was fun. But, I just, frankly, I can't wait for Ty Lue to bench him for, Kobe Brown or somebody like that. Here's what I'll say about Brad Beal is, look, I know Devin Booker rubs a lot of fans the wrong way for his arrogance and just maybe the way he carries himself a bit. But I've watched his entire career here in Phoenix. I've watched him go through, 5, 6 coaches. Various stars, co-stars have been brought in, and he's handled it like a pro the entire time. Like, say what you want about Devin Booker, and maybe you don't like his style or his attitude, but he has a winning mentality and he's a pro. And for Devin Booker to not mess with Beal, I think says something to me. And Beal, it's beyond like the big money and the role. He's soft in he doesn't play through injuries, right? Like, are you hurt or are you injured? And like any little thing, any little reason. Now, maybe you push back and say it's because he wasn't happy in his situation. But yeah, man, Brad Beal it's a win for the Clippers. You take the swing and you saw the pieces being moved when they made the Norm Powell trade. It was like, oh, you already understand they've got something coming in, and we all assumed it was Brad Beal, and that was the case. So, doing what I do, I'm either in front of the camera watching hoops, or I'm at the gym playing hoops and working out. So I'm usually in gym attire. But old Unc took a trip to Vegas, and I had a blast. But I had to dress up. I had to get suited and booted, and it's been a while. And the funny thing with outfits is, each piece can be the right piece, but if it doesn't come together, then it's not the fit. And it's the feel and the comfortability. If it doesn't fit right and it doesn't feel right, again, what's the point? And that's why I'm excited to introduce to you today's sponsor, Anson's Belt and Buckles. Family owned and operated since 2009. You've got over 40,000 5-star reviews. And frankly, it's the most dynamic belt system that I've ever seen or used. It's a micro adjustable track system. So rather than, holes that wear out and you have to poke holes and you're constantly trying to adjust and make sure you have the right fit, this just slides along, glides along, and not just adjusts to like when you want to take your selfie and you're upright and you're out and about, but if you're sitting down for a long period of time or you've had a big meal, it's completely dynamic to how you want it to feel throughout the day. They sent me a beautiful set with 3 belts, 3 buckles, which can turn into 9 different combos. And what you do is you measure it out, you cut one end, and then you can stick the buckle on. And again, change the straps with the buckles. And then the micro adjustable system allows you to adjust the fit for, the holidays or again, just throughout the day. So Anson Belt and Buckles, highly recommended. And because they're sponsoring today's video, when you click the link in the description or scan this QR code to build a box set, you'll get 2 bonus pieces, a buckle and a strap completely free. That's 3 buckles, 3 straps, which can be mixed and matched into 9 unique belt combos, all in one box. It's an exclusive deal you won't get anywhere else. So click the link, build your set, and upgrade your belt game today. But now, the Suns have opened up a little bit of wiggle room and a lot of money for Ishbia. All that big spending, he's having to moonwalk out of that a little bit, right? And the latest rumor is the Suns have called on Jonathan Kuminga. Do we want to trade him within the division? First it was the Kings, now it's the Suns. At this point, it's such a sticky situation. I'm not sure that would be a holdup. You know what I mean? And he's not, let's be honest, he is not yet the caliber of player where you would really worry about that, but it perhaps could turn into that. And so you look at this limited Suns roster, and I saw a trade being floated out there. First thing I think that stands out is they have 3 centers, right? They trade for Nick Richards last season, They trade for Mark Williams this offseason, and then they draft the big kid from Duke with the 10th pick. And so they've got three centers, and I always was under the belief like, okay, they're holding on to these guys as assets. They're collecting bigs because everybody wants a big. Kind of smart. I thought that that's what they were doing, but who knows? Who knows what they're doing? You imagine, all right, Mark Williams is probably penciled in as their starter. And forgive me, I don't remember the kid's name from Duke, but I saw him during the tournament. He's a ways away. He's young and he's raw, but he's got a lot of potential. Is their future at the center position. And so now Nick Richards, maybe possible trade bait. And I saw a deal of Royce O'Neal and Nick Richards for Kuminga. I'm not going to get into the numbers. That's for someone else. The capologists, and yeah, they're going to have to get creative no matter what. How much is coming back in and all that stuff. But Royce O'Neal, in his early 30s, goes about 6'4", strong, physical, three-point shooter. He's a dog. Royce O'Neal is the type of guy that would fit on any team, right? He's not a starter per se, right? But he's going to be able to guard up a little bit even at 6'4" because he's so physical. Again, shoots the three, experienced. He's a guy that can play in the playoffs for you. And so that is a nice player that you would get back. I think the question with Royce has always been durability. And it much like GP2, his playing style, like you watch him play and you're like, I could see why he gets hurt often. Like he's that physical, he's hitting the ground, and that's who he is. And so you're not going to pencil him in for 75 games per se, but he's still, I think, at the tail end of his prime, and again, would fit on any system, in any system, I should say. Now, Nick Richards, I remember during the Wiseman era, and it was a time when Wiseman was getting consistent minutes, and we still all had a lot of intrigue and hype behind him, and we showed up in Charlotte in the middle of a season, and he made Nick Richards look like David Robinson. That was like the first time I noticed Nick Richards, and I was like, oh, that's probably not a good sign for James Wiseman, But, he's a true 7-footer. He runs the floor. He's got a good motor at that size. He's got good hands. He's average across the board. I don't think Nick has like a standout skill. You're not like, oh, he's an elite rebounder. He's an elite rim protector. Like, he doesn't shoot the three ball. He might shoot it a little bit, but he's not going to space it. Like teams aren't going to guard him out there, certainly. But he does everything average, right? You're like, oh, he's got pretty good hands. He rebounds all right. Like he can block some shots. He's a serviceable big man. And right now in the Warriors situation, that's appealing, especially a true 7-footer, right? Now, Al Horford, I don't know. You tell me, right? But again, with their three centers, that seems like somewhat of a realistic deal. Would there be draft capital brought back? You look at the rest of their roster. I like Grayson Allen. I've always been a Grayson Allen guy, even at Duke. Yeah, there's no doubt he's, the extracurriculars. He and Draymond, come on. They're cut from the same cloth. But he's a great competitor, a guy that has a hard time staying healthy, but a shooter, a microwave scorer. I don't know if he would be involved in the deal. But you know who actually would be perfect and the guy that I would be most interested in on the Suns roster? I know you know where I'm going with this. I know you know. Dylan the Villain. Dylan the Villain. Now, there's no doubt the big three, Steph, Draymond, and Jimmy, they'd have to fly him out to the Hamptons, and there would have to be like a kumbaya moment between the four of them because the GP2, like, I don't know. I get it. I get if some of you are like, there's no way they'd bring him in because of the past battles. And it does seem, what's the word I'm looking for? Real. You know how like some of these guys, there's this trash talk and there's altercations, like the Dylan Brooks beef with Draymond and the Warriors and hitting Steph stuff like that's kind of deep rooted. I will acknowledge that. You saw Jimmy, remember him and Jimmy on the foul line in that Houston series? So there is that. I understand, like they would have to they would have to meet and agree to, make up, for a lack of a better term here. But on the court, as a player, Dylan Brooks would be perfect. He would be perfect for us. You know who he is. He's still an all defensive caliber player, maybe not first team, but you can put him on, the other team's best wing player. But the thing that evolved in Houston is he became a 40% three-point shooter. He didn't miss in the dang first round this year against us. At some point, he was shooting like 50% through like 5 games. And he did this thing where I had read about it. He got this ball one off season that tracked the trajectory of his shot and like how it arcs every time. And he dialed in this arc that really just fixed his three-point shot. I think a lot of people could use that. There's a lot of flat shots. I'm looking at it Summer League. But yeah, Dylan on the court would like sign me up. But again, I know that, it's probably unrealistic. The Suns maybe don't even want to involve him. And then again, how would that mesh in the locker room? But as a player, that would be a great fit. Jalen Green, wouldn't it be ironic if the 2 G League Igniters ended up getting traded for each other? And I was thinking about that. I was trying to convince myself like, hey, okay, that would be interesting, right? To bring him back to the Bay. And he had such a bad series against us, right? But I'm not sure I like Jalen Green as a prospect as much as I do Kuminga. They're kind of like right in the same spot. Both of them, a lack of fundamentals going through that G League Ignite team. Both of them can give you 30, 40 on a given night, but Kuminga's almost just a bigger version of it, and he's he's just more dynamic. Now, I won't say more dynamic, not certainly with the ball, but just I'm not sure I like Jalen Green more than Kuminga. However, he is a guard. He is a guy that could be developed on the ball, and he plays a different position. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know. The Nick Richards, Royce O'Neal deal, which sounds like far more realistic. Can you throw? Dude, the Suns can't even throw us a pick. They don't even have any picks, do they? They might have some future picks, but yeah, it wouldn't be a great return. I would love that we're getting a true center, and Royce O'Neal is a legit rotational 3-and-D player, so I wouldn't hate it either. But let me know what y'all think. If there was a Suns deal, who would you want? And maybe some of y'all with the capologists and the numbers, what would be more realistic? Dylan Brooks, I'm telling you. I know I'm not saying it's going to happen, but that would be who I would try. I would call Jimmy, Steph, Draymond and be like, hey, y'all want 5? Like this dude, y'all know what he's about. You may not like him, but you know what he's about on the court. The other thing that I was thinking about watching all these Kuminga training videos, though, is what if the Warriors have just created a monster? What if they have put a chip on his shoulder so large he shows up in October and he's just dominant? He's added like 7-8 pounds of muscle in the post, the mid-nail game and everything. He's just like unstoppable. Because it's funny if year 3 is usually the leap year for a player. When you look at a young player that turns into a star. And if you did do the minute math for Kuminga and his opportunity, even though this is going to be year 5, it's probably more like year 3 in actual minutes and opportunity. But, the one thing that I am curious about is you see all this drill work. Is he playing any 5v5? Is he doing any like instinctual basketball, like full court stuff? I understand he might not want to be doing like open runs because he's in this contract situation, but I think that that's also super important for someone like Kuminga. Like, yes, the ISO skill work, we know that's what he loves, but he does need to play 5-on-5 basketball and still up his feel of the game that way. But yeah, man, we all sit and wait. But that's the latest. Phoenix calling on him, and I guess what makes it feel like possible is the Suns be doing wild shit, right? Like they do wild shit. Like it could be a Jalen Green. Like they do wild stuff. So I'm not ruling it out. But those are my thoughts on that. Dame Lillard spins the block. They said 10 teams offered him. Warriors, I think, were one of them. Boston. Any contender, right, was willing to take on Dame. I think the numbers were different. Portland paid him. He definitely got some money. That's look, I get it. I get it at this point in his career, and he's a legend in Portland, right? However, what it made me think about was how much flack LeBron and KD get for constantly manipulating their team and situation to have a better shot to win. right? Like you can listen. We know LeBron and they likes the spotlight, and KD is fickle personality, but like ultimately the moves that those two make and try to manipulate is usually like, hey, what's the best shot for me to get back into the NBA Finals, right? And Dame, look, he values what he values. I think ultimately, looking at his career, I think he valued the glory of having his own team and playing the way he wants to play more than actually getting that chip and winning that chip. He never altered his game to do that. Whether it was like the defensive end or sacrificing offensively, like playing differently for the better of the team and giving themselves a better chance. That's the way I see it with Dame. But hey, get your money, and what makes you happy is what makes you happy. Like, I can't fault him if that's, I think a lot of players feel that way. I don't think it's just Dame. I think Dame's just more transparent in it. And I also think that I personally respect the LeBron KD method, as annoying as it can be to, if fan bases and what it does to the league, that, all right, I'm trying to move the chips. What's my best shot at being in the finals this year? I like that mentality, and I'm not going to give them flack for it. Summer League wrapped up yesterday. My pops is in town from Kenya. He comes out, maybe once a year. He'll be here for the week, and so I had to get him from the airport, and I'm excited to see him and see the family. But so I didn't have a breakdown of this last one, which was, I watched the first half of it. It was what are the Raptors? Hey, it is what it is. But the Raptors were playing. I've used this term several times in Summer League, prison ball. Like they were full court pressing. It was ugly. It was a hard watch. But listen, Tui, he just doesn't look nearly as athletic as the tape showed. When we first drafted him and everybody ran to YouTube and looked at the I don't want to say Illawarra. Was it Illawarra? Whatever the Australian team was he played for. It's all relative, but he's not as fast or as athletic as the tape looked. And so there's going to be an adjustment period. And to be fair to him, it's a much bigger adjustment than these college kids coming in, right? Where he's coming into a new country and all of a sudden playing with the best athletes he's ever played against. So there is that adjustment. I liked his competitive spirit, his feistiness, but I'm not feeling great about the pick right now. I'm not feeling great about it. He's just, there's a kind of a wonkiness to him, and we'll see. We'll see how he adjusts, right? But I think what's important to remember with the trade and the concept, I know a lot of y'all had your eyes on other guys. I didn't scout the draft that far like that, so I don't know. But it was a 2-for-1 deal, right? They trade the pick for 2 picks. And so even if Tui is a miss, Will Richard doesn't look like he's going to be. Will Richard looks like a hit. He looks like a perfect fit for the system. Everything within the flow. Defends, cuts off the ball, rebounds, gets to the line. He looks like he is going to be competing for rotational minutes this year. I think he needs to work on the body a little bit, like a lot of rookies and young players do. And the shot, we'll see how consistent it is from 3-point range. I think he may need to alter the 3-ball as opposed to his mid-ranger, but he passed with flying colors. I'm really excited about Will Richard. And so the 2-for-1, hey, that was the concept. You got to hit at least one of them. And Will looks like a keeper. But yeah, man, we'll sit and wait and see. The Al Horford news, it sounds like he's balking on the deal. What was it that altered that made him change his mind? Was it the Valanciunas thing in Denver? I'm not sure what his other options are, but I think we're all growing impatient that the Warriors are the only team in the league that hasn't made a move yet. But at the same time, we all understand that this Kuminga thing is holding up all these options. So hopefully they can get this done here in, I don't know, July, at least July, maybe this upcoming week. Now that Summer League is over, because that was the story. They're going to meet with Kuminga, his people, when everyone's in Vegas. And now that that's happened, maybe something can get moved along here. Maybe Ishbia can throw us a bag of assets because, that's kind of what he's been doing out here in Phoenix. As always, hit that like, share, and subscribe. I'm out, y'all.